Hello, everybody. This is Mike, Kilo Oscar 4, Papa Delta India, coming to you from Palm Coast, Florida. Hello, everybody. I got to turn the sound off on there. I'm monitoring it on YouTube while I do this live stream. Good news. If you chat with me on YouTube, Kilo Oscar 4, Papa Delta India, KO4PDI on YouTube, I will see it on my screen. So I hope a few of you get on there and choose to do this with me. Today I'm coming on and I'm doing a live, but I'll probably go back and edit this to try and give you the details so I can post the links and stuff in the description of this video. What this video is the new standards that you have to do as a ham radio operator in the United States. If you remember back I guess probably about a year ago, there was somebody that complained about a ham radio operator in an HOA that was affecting their pacemaker or their insulin pump or something like that. Okay, can I just call BS on that? Because no, it didn't do it. However, as a response to this, the FCC has now made a rule that you have to provide documentation of the RF exposure from your antennas based on your radio, the antenna, the height of the antenna, what frequencies you run on. To me, this has to be one of the most convoluted requirements for a ham radio operator. Because if I test my antenna and I go in and I say, oh, at 145.52, my RF exposure is safe within 2 feet in an uncontrolled location. I mean, in a controlled location, and it's 5 feet in an uncontrolled location. Okay, what the hell does that mean? I always have to stay on that frequency? I always have to use that? No, to me, this is just more BS to get you on, to find a way to make you not do it. I went through the chart on the ARL website, and I have all 6 of my antennas with a set frequency that I printed out the chart to show what the RF exposure is. And you want to know something? It's all BS, because unless I'm on that exact frequency or in that exact power level and that exact time of transmitting, it's all variable. Okay, now that I'm mad and I'm blowing off steam, you still got to do this. This is something, as a ham radio operator, you are now required to do this month, May 2023. It starts this month. You have to do this. So let's take a look at some of the ways the ARRL is going to help you comply with this bullshit rule. Forgive my language. All right, you're looking on the screen now at the ARRL page right here. Here you go, right here, right to my left, left in the picture. Let's see what we got here. We have an introduction. The website is arrl.org/RF- the word exposure. That's how you get to this website. I will put a link in the description after I get off my live and after I edit the video and put it on YouTube. I'll also put it on Twitter. So what it says here, the first paragraph, amateur radio is basically a safe activity. In recent years, however, there have been considerable discussion and concern about the possible hazards of electromagnetic radiation, including both RF energy and power and frequency, 50 to 60 hertz, electromagnetic fields. To allay such concerns, instead of just going up to them and saying, shut the hell up, Karen, the FCC is making us jump through these stupid hoops. To allay such concerns, the FCC sets limits on the amount of RF energy that people can be exposed to. Some stations now need to be evaluated to ensure that they are compliant with RF exposure limits. As detailed in the May 2023 QST article by Greg Lappin, N9GL, the rules, which took effect on May 3rd in 2021 now require amateur radio operators to perform station evaluations. The amateur radio service is no longer categorically excluded from certain aspects of the RF exposure rules, and licenses can no longer avoid performing exposure assessments simply because they are transmitting below the given power level. So in other words, like big radio stations that put out 50,000 watts and let's see, what other kind of things? Paging systems that have antennas on top of apartment buildings that are putting out 10,000 watts or whatever. These things always had to have an RF exposure reading. Now, I can speak from personal experience that all those readings don't mean crap, because I worked for Verizon. Many, many times, these antennas that are on top of these high rises and apartment houses and stuff like that, I would have to go and do work there to provide them the phone line that brought them back to their main location. In other words, you'd put in a radio tie line or that type of circuit that is strictly there to provide the data to this antenna to be able to transmit. The transmitter is at the building. The person who's sending the transmissions might not be there, might be in another location. Well, those radios, you always had to do an RF exposure level on them since 2021, according to this. I think you had to do it much earlier than that. But I remember working on these buildings, and nobody ever said to me, oh, by the way, you see that big, thick black wire over there going to that metal stick? You can get cancer from getting hit by exposure to that if you're too close. Nobody said that. There were no danger signs, caution signs, nothing. They didn't put anything up. All right. So as a result of the Karens that are bitching about and the ignoramuses at the government level in the FCC, and I do mean that with all of my heart, these people are high school dropouts who couldn't get a job anywhere. Anyway, I'm not going to go there. The bottom line is you are required now for your home station to document the exposure levels and the RF output based on your antenna. If you have a Yagi, how many elements? If you have a vertical, how many elements? If you have a dipole, how long is it? What's the gain on the dipole based on the amount of wattage you're putting into it? Now, I happen to only have 100-watt radios. That's the most I put out. I don't have an amplifier of it. But now you are required to keep records of this. This stupid paper. You got to keep. Somebody comes to my house and say, hey, what's the RF exposure level on your Yagi that you do satellites with? I have to pull this paper out and prove it to them what it is. You want to know something? This is also BS. I can put any number I want to get this calculation, to get it to where it's safe. It's not a legitimate thing, and I think it's the stupidest thing. And I'm going to talk to my congressman next time I see him and tell him, get the FCC out of my backyard. But in the meantime, you go to www.arrl.org/RF-exposure, and you can read about this. On that page, in the third paragraph at the end, there's a highlighted key that says RF exposure calculator. I'm going to show you that calculator right now. Here it is right here. This is the RF exposure calculator. And what you do is you go over here, you put in how much wattage are you using. Power at the antenna, which is stupid because that's the power at the radio is 100 watts. When it gets to the antenna, it might only be like 90 watts. Who knows? Based on how much coax you have, how many connectors you got in line. So already this calculator is BS. Just putting that out there. Okay, so I put in 100 watts because that's the max my radio can do. All right, the next thing they ask you is mode duty cycle. Okay, here's what your choices are. Heavy speech processing, duty cycle equals 50%. Conversion to CW, it's 40%. FM duty cycle is 100%. AM is 100%. FISC, FSK, and RIDI are 100%. AFSK and single sideband, 100%. Carrier always on. That's for tuning up. Duty cycles 100%. Who has their carrier always on? Unless you're doing CW, that's always maximum duty cycle, but Still. For all others or if unknown, assume the worst case scenario, duty cycle 100%. All right. So I'm going to put on conversation, heavy speech processing. Okay. It says that's 50% duty cycle. Then it asks, if they ask you the duty cycle, then it asks you, how long do you transmit for? How long do you receive for? I don't know. Am I running FT8? Am I talking? Am I just eavesdropping on the net? Right? Right? I mean, think about this. Okay. So I'm going to put down, I transmit for 1 minute because I usually don't transmit for longer than a minute. And I receive for 10 minutes. It's all arbitrary. It's all random. Whatever you want, put it in there. It doesn't matter. There's no requirement for like at this wattage with this much time on the air, you can't go above this. There's no rules as far as what you're allowed and what you're not allowed. They're just telling you how to make it up. This is ridiculous, if you ask me. The ARRL should have went to the FCC and told them that. I'm not going to say it. All right, the antenna gain. What is your antenna gain? Huh? My Yagis that I use for my satellites, each one has at least 10 dB of gain. My dipole doesn't have that much. But hey, you don't know what the gain is? Click on this little thing. It says you need help right here. You need help? Click on that. Watch what comes up. Oh, another page. Look, oh, here's approximate gain in dBi based on if it's a half-wave dipole. All right, first of all, why don't they have a full-wave dipole or an off-center-fed dipole listed here? They don't. But they're saying half-wave dipole is 2.15 dB gain. I don't know. Is that at 10 meters or is that at 20 meters or 40 meters? It's a guess. It's all guesses. This is what makes this. If this ever came to a court of law and they tried to prosecute somebody for not doing this or doing it wrong, they'd never win because there's so many variables that they do not require any specific wattage or usage. It's just everybody's got to do this because, oh, Karen got upset that maybe her insulin pump was being affected by it. Whatever. Get a toroid, put it around your throat. Okay, so here's all here, 8-element Yagi, 10-element Yagi. All right, that's what I have on my 70 centimeter Yagi. I have a 10-element Yagi. So let's go back to the calculator here, and we'll pick 10-element Yagi. And it's, how much did it say my gain was with the 10-element Yagi? That would be 15.1 dBi. All right, I know for a fact this antenna is not 15.1 dBi, and I put that in. And let's say the frequency I'm working, since it's on there, it's 70 centimeters, so we'll go like 435.666, because that's what I think of these people. And now you go over here to the word calculate, and you click calculate. And what does it tell you? Look at this, comes up below. The maximum allowed power density, MW over CM squared, I have no idea what that is 1.4522. Got me? I don't know what that is. Maximum safe distance in feet is 6.3811, 6 1/3 feet. Maximum safe distance in meters is 1.9449, which is about 6 feet. Okay, a little more. That's for a controlled environment. So in other words, people aren't roaming around. They're not touching your antennas. The antennas are in a place separated from the general public. That's a controlled environment. An uncontrolled environment means you have it out in front of your house and people walk by every day and they can go up and touch it if they want. On a controlled environment, the maximum safe distance is 11.0523 feet or 3.3688 meters. Now you have to print this out and post this in your ham shack in case somebody comes in and says, hey, now how do they know the numbers I put in here are correct? One. How do they know based on these numbers it's safe? Well, my Yagi is at 25 feet in the air, so nobody's going to be touching it. But you see the point? It makes no sense. This is such a overstep of the FCC. It just drives me nuts. But hey, These are the rules they're making. The whole government loves to get involved, to come out and say, hey, I passed a law so you don't have to blah, blah, blah. Or I passed a law to protect you from that guy. And you make that guy the villain. Let me tell you something. Ham radio operators are not the villains. As a matter of fact, we're the ones that do it the right way. The people that go out and buy a radio without a license and start broadcasting and transmitting with it, they're the problem, not us. Anyway, I had to bring that to you in the post-production. I will add the links of these pages I'm showing you. It doesn't matter if you like it, you don't like it. I personally don't like it. I think it's an overstep of government, and but you have to comply. You don't have a choice. I don't know what the consequences of not doing this would be, but I don't even want to try it. I don't want to test it. I want to get this and do it the right way. So you can tell I'm a little worked up about this. Anytime the government comes in as the savior, in the words of Ronald Reagan, I think it's the 9 most scariest words in the English language. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Yeah, you're not helping anything. If anything, you're trying to get a campaign slogan that you could use or whatever. This is not going to help anybody. This is not going to save anybody. This is not going to solve any of the world's problems at all. And you can look at this and you could see it. This is the form you fill out. This is on www.arrl.org/RF-exposure-calculator will get you to this page. But you can go originally to RF exposure page and get that without having to go. You can go to this page first where you can read more about it on the ARRL website. This is overreach. This is, I don't know. I just, it's government and we're licensed by the government. So we're forced to comply with this BS, if you ask me. So I'm going to go back and edit this video so that I can get it up on YouTube with the correct links and locations to go find this calculator on the ARRL website, which they do not make easy, which I'm ashamed to say. I'm sorry that, you know, ARRL, boy, you can make a better website so easy. I wish you would, because it's so hard to find anything on that website. It's just a mishmash of crap. Like, for instance, take a look at the home page. Oh, okay, not that. That's where I want to go. All right. Okay, so now on this page, here's the home page. How do you find the RF exposure thing? How do you know it's called RF exposure? You don't know. So it's just complicated. There's a million different things on here. This is one of the most unorganized websites I've ever been to. It's not easy to get through, and they really need to improve it. Now, I don't know if they have any paid people that do their web stuff, but it's obvious this thing is just too much crap on the front page here that you cannot find simple stuff. Here's the on the air page. A million stories, no rhyme or reason to anything, if you ask me. So if I gave them a mark on their webpage, I would give them a D-, because they don't make it easy. It should be much, much simpler than that. I think what happens is they build a page and they like the way it looks, and they just keep adding and adding and adding and adding, and this is what you end up with, a mishmash of crap. And for that, all right, I'm a member of the ARRL. I paid buku bucks to be a member for 10 years and get a free mug back at Hamvention or Hamcation. And I support them because they do a lot. But boy, in this case, they dropped the ball. Somebody should have went back to the FCC or to Congress and said, why are they micromanaging every person with a radio? Do you know, I did a video on a Zygu amplifier. I haven't uploaded it yet, but I went on the website and they're I went on the eBay website for the cable you need to use the Xiegu with the 705, and I'll be posting links to that on eBay. Over 330 cables this guy has sold. That means there's over 330 705 owners that bought this cable. There's over 330 Xiegu XPA 125 amplifiers out there, and that's just that amplifier. So how many people, how many ham operators are out there? In my town alone, there's over 700 ham radio operators. So every single one of them has to do this. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous because they're not specific about what you have to do. They're not specific about what the requirements are to know, are you within specs? You know what your specs are, but are you within the rules for the amount of RF exposure on your antenna? There's no way to prove that. Nobody's telling us what that is. I am not a scientist. I am not going to read the entire federal code on the FCC's website for antennas based on just any antenna. I'm not going to do that. Can you tell I'm upset about this? I'm upset about this. However, I'm going to watch the NASCAR race this weekend and enjoy myself, and I'm still going to use my radios. I printed out stuff. I have no idea what it means, what it's for, if anybody's going to want to look at it, but I have to have it in case they do. But when they look at it, what are they looking for? Is the person that comes to look at it going to be a super duper rocket scientist that you're 0.5 units above what you're supposed to be with that antenna? You have to take that down. How do I refute that? How do I know what the right amounts are? There's no information on that. And you'll see guys putting YouTube videos up showing you how to do this, how to measure your antenna and all. Nobody's asking why. I'm asking why. Why are you interrupting my pleasure that I do in my time with mishigas, which is a Yiddish word, means BS. This is wrong, and this should not be required. But it is for now, so you might want to comply. All right, on that note, I want to thank you all for watching. My name is Mike. The call sign is Kilo Oscar 4 Papa Delta India, and this is Ham Fun, not today, with KO4 PDI. All right, it was fun. I got to blow up some steam. I feel much better now. Thank you all for watching and listening and putting up with me. And you guys are the best. KO4 PDI. I'll be clear, 73. Even if the federal government isn't wishing you a good day, I am 73.